Sony is gearing up to release their next-gen console PS5 this December, and by all accounts, they've already bested their main competitors Nintendo and Microsoft, who are also releasing brand new consoles this holiday season, the Nintendo Switch Pro and Xbox Series X respectively. Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo are all gunning for that #1 spot, but it seems as if Sony is ahead of the pack. But how can we be so sure that PS5 will be the big winner? Well, there's a number of reasons, and we have the stats to prove it. Folks, let's take a look at why Sony's PS5 is the superior gaming console for next-gen gaming. Okay, first and foremost, it's safe to say that a gaming console is only as good as the games you can play on it. No matter how good your console is projected to be, if the games for it suck, then your console sucks too. So you'd probably want as many developers on your side as possible, right? After all, it is these game developers who will either make or break your system, and having as many of them on your side can certainly give you strength in numbers. You know what they say, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. So while we're on the topic of numbers, let's take a look at some of the numbers or stats that were compiled during the State of the Game Industry 2020 survey, in which 4,000 game developers were asked to answer a number of questions pertaining to various gaming platforms. When asked which console they plan to release their next project on, 23% of them said PS5, as opposed to 19% that said Nintendo Switch Pro and 17% that said Microsoft Xbox Series X. That means that PS5 has 240 more game developers eyeing it as their system of choice, which certainly gives Sony a clear-cut advantage. Game developers usually have two things in mind when producing a game: art and money. While the artistry involved in video game development is a testament to the artistic integrity of a game developer, profitability is just as important. Making sure that a game is marketable and will turn a profit for the company that develops it is something the gaming industry takes very seriously. But in all honesty, if a game is well produced, challenging, and fun to play, it's pretty safe to say that it sells itself. Having said that, PS5 holds an advantage over Xbox because of its profitability margin as well. Going back to what we said earlier, game developers are more excited for PS5 than they are for Xbox Series X, and that is great news for the Sony accounts receivables department. More game developers on board means more games, and more games equals more money. Both the PS5 and Xbox Series X will be released at the tail end of the year, most likely between October and December, and will be in direct competition with one another. Whether you are Team PlayStation or Team Xbox, one thing is for certain: it will be one heck of a matchup. Both consoles boast impressive power and their capabilities are similar, but not exact. Although there isn't a great deal of information available about each of these respective consoles at the present time, let's take a look at some of the information we do know in order to better understand the difference between the two consoles. According to TechRadar.com, the PS5 will run off a custom-built version of the 3rd generation AMD Ryzen chipset, packing in 8 cores with the company's new Zen 2 architecture and Navi graphics. It's a system that will be able to support ray tracing, a performance-intensive lighting technique that has previously been the reserve of expensive high-end PC GPUs, and which we now know will be built into the GPU hardware for the PS5. Sony has also gone on record as saying that the PS5 will get a new gold standard in immersive 3D audio, particularly for gamers playing with headsets on. The PS5 will also have an 8K screen resolution, which is much higher than the standard 1080p HD of most people's television screens, and higher than the 4K screens that are becoming increasingly popular as well. With a 120 Hz refresh rate, the PS5 will have extremely fluid movements in games. Sony is once again committed to using SSD storage, a custom-built hardware, and they're not shy to show it off. In a recent demo of one of their existing PS4 games, Spider-Man, their SSD technology was highlighted as Spider-Man raced around an incredibly detailed New York City at extremely fast speeds without causing any delays in geometry loading or texture streaming. It has also been confirmed that the PS5 DualShock controller will have all new adaptive triggers that will allow different levels of resistance for different weapons. And the new haptic feedback, which will replace the old rumble feature, is another feature that the PS5 DualShock controller will now have. So how does this this match up with the Xbox Series X? Actually, it matches up quite similarly. The Xbox Series X also has 8K resolution, a 120Hz refresh rate, and SSD technology. But if you're concerned about being eco-friendly, however, Sony claims the PS5 will be much more energy efficient than its predecessor, the PS4, while the Xbox Series X will be putting out twice the power of the Xbox One X and releasing more heat. The Nintendo Switch Pro is another gaming system that is rumored to be released in late 2020 and is not far behind PS5 in terms of its popularity amongst game developers. In fact, Nintendo Switch is even more popular with game developers than Xbox Series X, which in essence makes Nintendo Switch the number 2 system. Would you like us to do a video featuring the Nintendo Switch Pro and compare its stats to the PS5? Let us know in the comments. Also, it would be best to mention that although the Switch is more popular amongst game developers than the Xbox Series X, and that the PS5 is more popular than both of them, none of the aforementioned gaming platforms can compare to the popularity of the PC. In fact, 52% of game developers have stated that the next game they're developing is for PC. Perhaps this is because PC games are less expensive and therefore more enticing to gamers. But you know, a PC is a PC and it's not in the same category as the other gaming consoles that we are discussing. Now, as for the games that will be released for the PS5, not too many details are currently available. However, we can expect titles such as Watch Dogs Legion, Godfall, and Lord of the Rings Gollum to make their way onto the PS5 platform. Some of the rumored games for PS5 include Cyberpunk 2077, Death Stranding, and Ghosts of Tsushima, to name a few. It should also be noted that the PS5 will be backwards compatible, at least with PS4 games as far as we know, so you'll be able to play some of your favorite titles from years past. At the end of the day, the fact that more developers are interested in making games for the PS5 as opposed to making games for any other console gives PS5 a huge advantage over its competitors. When asked which console game developers are most intrigued by, PS5 came out ahead of the rest with 38%. Nintendo Switch was second with 37%, and Xbox placed third place with 25%. Although these numbers are close, even 1 percentage point makes a huge difference when dealing with such high numbers. I mean, Sony has sold over 1 billion PS4 games to date, and they're on track to do the same with PS5. The good people over at Microsoft, however, don't always like to reveal their numbers for the Xbox and are a bit more secretive when it comes to the numbers of games they've sold. Perhaps this is due to the fact that they want to seem as if they're not too far behind Sony, or maybe they just don't want to discourage folks from purchasing their games. Customers tend to be swayed by more popular trends and more popular brands, so that may be one of the reasons Microsoft likes to keep things hush-hush. Whatever the case may be, we know that game developers are hyped up to release new games for the PS5 more than they are hyped up to release games for the Xbox Series X, and that is a telltale sign that the PS5 has already beat out Xbox. Back in 2016, however, Microsoft let it slip that they sold 19 million Xbox Ones during a time that Sony was boasting about selling 35 million PS4s. To date, Sony has sold 106 million PS4 units, while Microsoft has sold an estimated 46.9 million Xbox Ones. In fact, the Sony PlayStation in general is the best-selling gaming console of all time, and the folks over at Microsoft really have their work cut out for them if they hope to best Sony. At this point, the only shot that Microsoft has at claiming the throne is if they come out with a groundbreaking new technology that gives their Xbox console superior graphics, or if they come out with exclusive new titles, which may not be in the cards for them since game developers have already stated they are more interested in developing games for the PS5. What do you think Microsoft needs to do in order to compete with Sony? Let us know and maybe drop a line to Microsoft as well, because they could certainly use the advice. Are you excited for the release of the PS5, and do you think it will be the superior gaming console? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to The Gamer for more videos like this one.